So hello and a very warm welcome back to my channel. This is Laith at Managing Marathons, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Arc of Attrition kitless, mandatory kit list. So, the mandatory kit check. So as you know, in case you're wondering where I am, I'm in my garage. This is where I put all my running gear and all that kind of stuff. I don't have the luxury of sitting in a nice warm house. It's pretty cold today, hence the beanie and the fleece, which we'll come back to in a moment. So this is about the Arc of Attrition. It's at the end of January 2025, and I'm just about set up with everything. And for me now, it's just a case of putting it all out on the table. I've already packed it once and unpacked it again, which is always fun, just to see if it fits into my pack, which is a 10-litre pack. It does all fit, although I am considering taking a running belt as well, simply to put some sort of nutrition and hydration in there as well. I know a lot of people are using 12-litre packs. I have even seen somebody using a 5-litre pack. How they're getting all this stuff in there, I have no idea. But I'm using a 10-litre pack and I've packed everything in really small. But for the purpose of this video, I've taken it all out again and laid it on the table to show you what I'm taking. So I'm going to do this in stages, and the first thing I'm going to do is talk about what I'm actually going to wear first in terms of clothing and the items that are mandatory on the checklist. Now, from time to time, I will be checking the phone because that's where I've got my list. But having said that, I've pretty much got it all in my head now because I've been through this, I don't know, dozens of times now. And as you're probably aware, if you've seen this and the Facebook page, there's been a lot of chat about the kit check, especially for the longer one, which is the 100-miler and the 50-miler. So thankfully, I'm on the 50k, give or take, which is 25 miles. I need to make it into a marathon distance, so I'll be doing about 26, 27 miles, just to make it over the marathon length, because I'm running for charity, and my promise to the charity and everybody that's donating for the cause, which is Young Lives versus Cancer, is to run 12 marathons in 12 months. So the Arc 25 is just shy of a marathon, so I'll be running about 4 or 5 extra K at the beginning just to make up the 42 plus K. Anyway, let's start off with what I'm going to wear. So we'll start off from the ground up, as it were. And so let's start with the shoes. First of all, apologies for the dirty shoes. These are fairly new Hoka Mafate 4. They've got 5mm lugs. They are my go-to trail trainers, and they're fantastic. I really like these. As I say, my third pair, my second pair there, they're very, very worn. I'm going to get them retreaded, if that's the right word, resoled, to get them, because they're very comfortable, but they are my go-to. I haven't done the Arc before, but certainly these have seen me through Snowdonia and the Lake District and all of Wales in terms of mountain runs, hikes, and you name it. So first of all, the trainers. Hoka Mafate 4s, fantastic trainers, I love them. Then we're going to talk about what goes underneath that. So as an aside tip, Vaseline, and this is a Spanish version. It's the same as the British one. It just has a slightly different packaging. Vaseline is fantastic. I'd always recommend taking Vaseline on a hike, an ultra or a marathon of some description, and I smother my feet in them. Now, if the weather's bad and it looks like it might very well be damp or wet and cold, smother your feet in Vaseline and then cover them with your socks. So directly over the Vaseline. It was a tip given to me a couple of years ago on an ultra, and it works an absolute treat. It keeps your feet, supple, and the water doesn't have the impact that it would if your feet were dry and rubbing against each other, particularly your toes. So the net effect is you don't get blisters. And for me, that's worked really well, so I'll keep doing it. I know some people like to have, sealskin socks or waterproof trainers. This method works for me, so I'll stick with it. And then, of course, are going to be these compression socks, which are fantastic. These are the Danish ones, which you can see you've got sort of right and left, which is fantastic. These work really well, and I would highly recommend them. I've trained in them several days, several weeks now. They work really well. Now, if you're not aware of the Arc of Attrition, you have to cover all your skin. So along with these long compression socks, these come right up to my knees, and I have to fold them over just a little bit so they come under my knees. Along with these, I have got these leggings. Now, these are Sondico. They work extremely well. They're very, very warm, and of course stretchy, which is fantastic. These will go right up to my waist. They will cover my calves, of course, and of course with the long socks, everything is covered. So that's my trainers, my socks, and the Sondico leggings, which work really well. Underneath that, of course, whether you are aware of it or not, I use Runderwear, which is a fantastic underwear for male and female. It works really well, and there's absolutely zero chafing. I don't know how they designed it or what it's well, I do know what it's made of, but it's ergonomically engineered is what it says here, and it's true. These work really well. I've got a few pairs of these. These are a new pair, so I'll be running in these for 3 or 4 times before the Arc, just to bed them in a little bit. And then of course these shorts, which are fantastic. I've got 2 pockets on the front, 1 in the back, which works really well. These are from Decathlon. Extremely just very, very good shorts with the 3 pockets. I particularly like them because you can put stuff in your pockets, even if it's just the wrappers from your gels. But certainly I'll be carrying extra gels in my pockets and something in the back, usually my phone, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So that's pretty much the bottom half covered, as it were. Then, one more thing. Of course, you do need your over trousers. So these are simply from Regatta. They're lightweight, they pack really small. You can see in the size of my hand. They pack really small. I've had them on. I've got the large size, which just basically means you can pull them up over your trainers without having to worry about it. I have tried them on. I very, very rarely run in over trousers, especially when you've got leggings and long socks on, but it is a requirement. So I'll be taking these along. So that's the over trousers. So now that is everything covered as far as the bottom half is concerned. Now I tend to also wear these knee supports, which not only adds a little bit of warmth, but actually helps with your knees when you're going particularly descending and downhill. I'm okay with the climbs, but going downhill, I do need a little bit of support with my knees. And even psychologically, it just helps because it feels like your knees are staying rigid, as it were, rather than wobbling around everywhere. But that really works. And if I need to change socks, I've got another pair of socks here, which for me are Hilly. They're the Hilly socks, the brand Hilly, Hilly. And then of course they're quite short, so they come just above the ankle, in which case then I'll simply put these on, which again, compression sleeves for your lower legs, your calves and so on. So I'll take a pair of these just in case I need to change socks along the way for whatever reason. I'll take the Hilly socks and then some compression, lower leg calf compression sleeves. So that'll be that cover. Now let's move on to the upper body, which is a little bit more complicated because this is where some of the confusion lied. The confusion was as far as layers are concerned. Let's have a look at that. So I don't know if you can see this. I've just put this rack up in the garage today. It really has made a big difference with all the clothing items, because it used to be just in a big jumble in a box and on shelves and so on. So what I'll be wearing is basically just a technical sports shirt. This one is one that I wore in Snowdonia. It's a short sleeve, of course, but of course wicking shirt, which works really well. Of course, that's going to be cold on its own. So I'll then wear a long sleeve, very warm. It was a New York Marathon one, but it was from New Balance, very, very warm. And it fits beautifully. So I'll be wearing that over the short sleeve. It's got a quarter zip there if I want some ventilation, and a pocket if I need to put anything in there as well. So that works really well. Those are basically just the undergarments, as it were. Then I'll be wearing some kind of fleece. Now I've got a couple of fleeces. It's this one that I've got on right now, which is very, very warm, regatta, I think. Same with this one. This one's Mountain Warehouse, I believe. So I've got one fleece and I've got a second fleece. You need to have at least two. If they invoke the cold weather kit, then we need a third fleece, which I've got up here. So I'm not going to worry about that for too much, but I will take it along, of course. Then we're looking at some kind of waistcoat. So this is a synthetic material, which is very, very warm, and of course packs really small. It's polyester synthetic, and as I say, packs really small. So that's another layer that I could have as far as the upper body is concerned. And then I've also got a third here, which again is beautifully designed. It's very, very warm. It's got a hood attached as well, and of course long sleeve and pockets as well. That could be my third layer. It'll work very well because it's a nice snug fit, very similar to this blue one, but slightly more snug fit. So it depends on whether they call the cold weather kit check mandatory check, then I'll have a third layer to wear if I need it. But you know, I very rarely run in this many layers, and already when I have tried all of this kit out, it's very, very warm, and we've had -3, -4 in the last week or two when we had all that ice and snow in the UK, and I wore 3 layers plus my jackets, and I actually ended up being too hot, and it was cold here. So if I'm wearing 3 layers plus a base plus the jacket, you're talking about 5 layers. I think I'll be absolutely fine, even with, you know, the wind chill and the wind blast off the Cornish Coastal Path, which I know is cold. We've been there before, but I honestly think just being sensible about it without the mandatory kit checklist, I think those 4 or 5 layers I'll be absolutely fine. So that's the base layers, as it were. Then of course is the jackets. So I've got another very warm synthetic jacket, which is padded and very, very warm. Again, it has its own hood, which works very well, and a robust zip which goes all the way to the top and tucks in really nicely with the hood, so you can wrap that around quite nicely. I can wear that underneath either this, which is my regatta outdoors top jacket, which again, beautifully designed. I've run in this many times. It's got lots and lots of really useful pockets inside and out. It's got a little bit of a lining, and of course it's got a hood, which is something that we need. There has to be a fixed hood. All the seams are sealed, which of course you need, and of course you've got a pull string there if you want to pull the hood a little bit closer or make it more snug. And then I've got a second jacket. I have run in this one twice now. This is the Harrier Run Free XL. It's a new product from Harrier. It's got this sort of peaked little hood, which works well. Very well designed, actually. It's got a number of pockets, sealed of course, a number of pockets inside and out. There's one actually on the back as well there if you want to use it as a pocket, or you can just wrap the whole jacket up and stuff it in its own pocket, so it wraps up really small, and then I can put it in the hydration pack. Ultimately, if they call the cold weather kit check, I could wear the Harrier. I could wear this. Well, first of all, I could wear the Gillette, the waistcoat underneath this padded jacket, and then wear the Harrier on top of that, as well as 2 fleeces underneath that. So I'm not worried too much about being cold and passing the mandatory kit check. There's a lot there. They all adhere to the mandatory kit check in terms of specification, as well as, you know, the jackets have to be a minimum 10,000 millimeters rainproof. These are both 10 and 15,000. I've got lots of warm fleeces to go underneath that. So that's the upper body pretty much covered. And I've got a selection of 5 or 6 there. I've yet to decide which ones to take. I will take them all with me, but I'll take them in the car and then go to the kit check with the ones that I've decided to take ultimately on the run. Okay, so that's the upper body. So I'm just going to go through the hat. You can see I'm wearing a beanie. This is just a sort of a casual beanie, but I have got two more here. There's a thin sillet one here, which is super warm. I love this one and it fits really well. I've got at least one baseball cap, which is a running cap, which is waterproof, which works really well. I do like the bright colors for obvious reasons. So if you're in trouble, people can spot you. And then I thought the Chicago, this is the 5K Chicago hat, was a bit of a gimmick. It does have a little bobble on top, but it's amazingly warm. It really is one of the warmest beanies I've worn. So I'll take that along because it's surprisingly warm. I've worn it on a couple of runs and I've just had to take it off. It's just too warm and gone back to this one. So that's the beanies and the hat. Gloves, well, there's such a selection of gloves here. These I like, they're very, very warm. They also mean that little pattern there means that you can use your phone while the glove's on. I've got another set here which is slightly more robust, but they're a little bit thicker and fatter, as it were. They're for extreme weather. So I'll probably take these smaller, tighter fitting ones. Then it's a case of just choosing which mittens. So I've just got these through Amazon. These are 3M thin sillet, completely waterproof, but they are enormous. They're crikey 12, 13 inches long, but they are very, very warm. Or more likely, these are much lighter. These are the Wedzi. I'm not sure if I've pronounced that right. Again, from Decathlon. So I might very well take these over mittens and these gloves, and then possibly take these or the other mittens as a backup spare. You're supposed to have at least 2 pairs of gloves. So that's the gloves. I will also, you've probably seen these or something similar to these. These are those hand warmers or foot warmers. You just basically take them out of the pack. Basically just take them out of the pack and snap them or just hit them on something and they warm up very, very quickly. And you can put these on the inside of your gloves or in the inside of your socks near your feet, depending on how you want to wear them. I have worn them before. They're very warm. They're not necessary, but if it gets particularly cold, then I'll crack open one of these and put them inside my gloves so my fingers stay warm, or on my feet if I need to. So that's the gloves and the hat done. Now, we also need to have some kind of buff. I'm a huge fan of buffs. There's a couple, there's several here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buffs. I usually take 3 buffs on most of my runs. One I wear under my hat because I can cover my ears, so there's a double layer covering your ears, and you can stretch them down so they cover the back of your neck, which is really handy, especially in cold weather. And I have 2 around each wrist for all sorts of reasons. They just become really handy if you need to wipe your nose. Sounds horrible, but it's true. If you need to wipe your nose, or you need to bridge the gap between the sleeve and or your gloves. I won't need them with these ones because they come right up almost to my forearm. But buffs are just really handy. So put them around your neck, of course, put them on your head, underneath your beanie or underneath your cap. And they're just useful for all sorts of things. I've even seen people put them around their shins if they've got really cold and forgotten to wear long socks. So they're so light and so easy to carry, you may as well have more than 1 or 2. I will carry 3 for sure. And then I've got a particularly good one here. This is a thin sillet buff with a little drawstring to pull it even tighter around your neck. It's unlikely that I'll take this one because it's particularly warm, but certainly the other 2 or 3 I will be taking a selection of those. So that's the buffs. You also need, if the cold weather mandatory kit is invoked, then you do need some glasses. Now, I have been up Snowdonia and Scafell when it's been seriously windy and blustery, and I've had contact lenses in instead of these glasses, and I completely understand why you need them. Now, these are foam lined, so they sit on your on your cheekbone really well, and they cover all around your eye socket. So fantastic, from Amazon, and they're Bowley, B-O-L-L-E, really nice. These are clear lens and they do the job extremely well. I've also got slightly darker lens which work really well too. Depends on the weather. I'll take them both. Unlikely to use the dark ones. I'm much more likely to use the clear lens ones, simply because if it gets dark early morning, late evening, the clear lens one makes a lot more sense. And it does help stop your eyes from watering or just dirt and grit getting into your eyes. So that's the glasses. So moving on to the actual pack. So here I've got the Harrier, I don't know if you can see that, Harrier Kinder 10 litre. So this pack is fantastic. I've had it for a couple of years now. It's worn extremely well. It's got dozens of pockets, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 on each side. So you can put your water bottles in here, you can put gels in here, you can put a phone in the top or whatever else you need to put on in the top. You've then also got 2 side pockets which are enormous. They stretch, and I've had up to 8 gels on each side. So those work really well. The zippers work really well. They've got this little toggle so you can't, you can easily pull the zippers, especially when you've got fat gloves on. And of course, on the back, you got the drawstring, which has these toggles as well, so you can stuff your jacket or any bulky items that need to basically go on the outside. And of course on the inside, I don't know if you can see that, you've got 2 sets of zips. Excuse me, just pulling the zip open. The zip on the inside there has this little clip where if you were using a bladder, I won't be using a bladder, you clip the bladder on there and have that long straw coming towards your face on the other side. And then inside is a huge pocket there where all of this stuff will be put into. So that's the Harrier Kinder 10 litre. That works really well. Now, in the beginning, in the introduction, I said I might be taking my running belt. This one's Everdict. Like a lot of my stuff, I think it's fantastic to get it from Decathlon. Very good value for money. This one's done 16 marathons, and it's as good as the day I bought it. So I'm really a fan of this particular running belt. It works extremely well. It's got drawstrings on the side so you can tighten them. You can carry an enormous amount of stuff just in this little belt. So I'm a fan of that belt. I will definitely take it to Cornwall, and I'm very seriously considering wearing it because it's so comfortable. It's wide, it's got a million pockets on it, it's got sealed pockets if you want to put anything in there that doesn't want to get dirty or wet. So those are my 2 packs, as it were. Now we have to carry 1.5 litres of water. So I'll be carrying 1 litre of water ready-made and then an empty one. So you don't have to have them all full, you just have to have the capacity to carry 1.5 litres. And there's my 1.5. It's 1, 2, 3. One will be empty. This is a Ron Hill one. It's got a little bit discoloured over the years. These 2 are sort of semi-soft, which I really like, because when you stuff them in the pocket of the hydration pack, they don't squish, especially when they're half empty. They don't sort of flop over like this one does. So those are the drinks. Now, we also need to carry a lot of what I call safety gear. Now, I'll go through a little bit of safety gear here, which I totally understand, and I'm totally think it's the right thing to do. Let's start off with a couple of things. So first of all is the first aid kit. Now the first aid kit, you'll see a lot of these. You can get them at most of the shops. Mountain Warehouse, Decathlon, these are readily available. They've got everything in there. I've also got my sewing kit in there. It's a tiny little sewing kit. It's got everything you need, a bit of thread, needle, and a few other bits and pieces. So I've also put that in there, as well as nail clippers, which I won't take with me, but I'll use before the race starts. And of course the emergency bivvy bag as opposed to blanket, because if you are in trouble, you can just wrap the whole blanket around your body rather than trying to hold the blanket around you. The bivvy bag is much more useful and just frankly more practical. Now that's not to say I won't take a blanket, because these are so small and so light that if you see anybody else in trouble carrying this, I don't know what that weighs, probably 5 or 10 grams if that. It's like a giant tissue paper, but they are surprisingly warm. So I always carry 1 or 2 of these as an emergency backup, not only for myself, but if you see other runners in trouble, give them one of these. At least they can stay warm temporarily. Okay, so that's a foil blanket. Now, let's move on to the electronics and the nutrition. So as far as the nutrition is concerned, I have considered this quite carefully because you need a minimum number of calories for the Arc of Attrition. And there's a whole bunch here that I am considering taking. I will whittle this down, but I've got my favorites. So for example, and I can switch the camera around so you can see these. So these are Pedialyte, which I picked up in the US. These are great. They're for 250 ml of water, but they're so small. They're not much bigger than sort of your small finger. You just rip the end off there, stick them in water, and there's your 250 ml of electrolytes. So those are so small, I may very well take those. Of course, then you've got the Moreton gels. These are the bigger ones, 160 milligrams. So they've got 65 grams of carbohydrate in the big ones. So 3 of those, and then the smaller 100. These are caffeinated, so I will take in those. So 3 and 3. I've also got these Stryker bars, which I really like. These are delicious. There's some date flavors, there's cinnamon flavor. I particularly like the rice date flavor one. There's the rice bars. These are 50 grams of carbohydrates again, which is very, very good. There's apple, cinnamon, and caramel bars. Absolutely delicious. More than that, they go down really well. They're basically rice cakes with a lot of flavor. So these are great. They're easy to chew and easy to swallow. 50 grams of carbs each. And then of course, Precision Hydration. You can see I've got a couple of products from them. The salt tabs, which are these here in the pack. So I won't be taking the pack. I'll just take a pack of 5 or 6, which I pre-cut and put into a little sandwich bag, waterproof. And then of course, Precision Hydration. I don't know if you've seen these before. These are the 90 grams of carbs. These are bigger pouches than their equivalent of the smaller ones. And I like these because the top just twists off. You take what you want and then you close the top back off. And instead of taking 6 or 8, you just take 2 bigger ones. And they work really well. And of course, as I say, you put the lid back on when you're done, and that works really well. You also need your cups. These are the plastic cups that you can take so you can have a drink from them. They're not particularly robust, but then I have got these, what I call soup bowls. It's almost like a dog bowl. They pop out by themselves, which is great, and these are much more robust. You can obviously have a drink in that, but you can also have something hot and not worry about it spilling or the cup itself collapsing. So that's fantastic. They collapse into small flat pack, and they've got a carabiner each, so if you run out of space you can certainly put them around you somewhere on a belt or a buckle on the hydration pack. So these are great. There's 2 of them there, and then I'll take one of these because it's part of the mandatory kit check. I probably won't use these, they're a bit flimsy, but those certainly underneath are fantastic. Tailwind, I'll put the Tailwind in the water bottle as a pre-mix. And then those 2 will be ready. I will not be taking this. I just wanted to show you that I use Tailwind, and I'll be putting them in these ready. And in this one, which is empty at the moment, I'll just put the powder in the bottom, so that'll be ready to take when I go along. Cliff bars, I usually take 1 or 2 of those. They're very they're packed full of carbs and sugars as well, glucose and energy that you can definitely use along the route. Cliff blocks as well, I really like them. These are the margarita citrus flavor, delicious. I've got another one which I think is raspberry or strawberry. I'll dig that up. And then of course I'll take a cup of these. What I tend to do these, the SIS electrolyte berry flavor, this one, I'll take about half a dozen and I wrap them in cling film, which is a really useful tip. Somebody else showed me that. And then if you're at the water station and just want to take, rather than take this whole tube, is just take 5 or 6 in cling. So I don't have a spork, but this is a really strong plastic spoon, and then there's a foldable fork stroke spoon, which is super light and works really well. I've used this one camping. Those are really fantastic. So that's the nutritionist word. Now, as far as other stuff is concerned, so some medical stuff, just in case you have any GI issues or etc., or headache, etc. So obviously the salt tabs I've already talked to you about, the sodium electrolyte capsules, as it were, aspirins, which are there. I won't take the whole box, of course, but I'll take a couple in a silver pack like that. Savlon, just a little bit of cream in case you've got a bad cut or a scratch somewhere, get some Savlon on there, and some anti-chafing stuff as well. This one is a brand that I picked up in the US. It's Mega Bay, so that works really well. Stops chafing, and it's called Fire Rescue, but it stops chafing everywhere and anywhere, so that's good. And of course, if you keep any GI issues, then a bit of Imodium is always a useful couple of tablets to have there. So that all goes in a sealed sandwich bag. I just wanted to show you that because these things are fantastic. These sandwich bags, I usually have a pack in the kitchen, but they're super useful, and I just pull one out when I need one. And I will be using several of these sandwich bags for all sorts of stuff. For example, the electronics. So let's move on to the electronics. I will have a spare phone. I have my normal phone, of course, which I've got my list. So there's the mandatory kit check, which I'm looking at, clothing and footwear and so on and so forth. I'm sure you've seen this all before. I won't bore you with it. And that's my normal phone. This is a backup phone. It'll be fully charged. Worst case scenario, if something happens to your main phone, you have to have it on and you have to have the GPS tracker on. Worst case scenario, you take the SIM out of this and shove it into this other one, at least, and you've got a fresh phone. If it gets wet or if you drop it or something and it doesn't work, take the SIM out of this and put it in your spare one. Right, as far as other bits and pieces are concerned, I always take some wet wipes. You never know when you might need them, a little bit of tissue, and of course the mandatory backup batteries. I've got 3 backup batteries in here, 1, 2 and 3. I probably won't take this huge one, although I will take it in the car and see how I feel on the day. It's not as heavy as it looks, but it is quite bulky. This one I love, it's a perfect size. This one will charge my phone about 4 times. This one more like 8 or 9 times. This one about 3 times, but I love the size of this, and it's really small, but it packs a powerful punch. This is a Kodak rechargeable battery charger, so that's great. Those all go in a sandwich bag. I've got the pet salt torch, which is fantastic. Of course, this is super bright, I'm sure you're already aware. These things work extremely well. It goes up to, I think, 1200 lumens. This is my backup one. It's only a baby one, but it'll go to about 400 lumens. Doesn't last very long, but it's a backup. And then I've got a third one here, which I'll be taking. Having said that, I've got another Petzl on order, and if that comes in time, I'll be taking both Petzls. As far as the batteries are concerned, yes, you've got the power banks as a backup, but Petzl obviously has its own battery. And then I have a pack of 3, which fits beautifully. These are the AAA batteries, fit beautifully in the back of a Petzl. So those are my 2 backup batteries, and there's another set already in there. These weigh nothing, so there's well worth doing that. So those are the 3 torches. Now you also need a tail light. So the tail light, not sure if I can do this one-handed. There we go. These are so small, but they are really bright. Let me see if I can find the switch. Those are the tail lights. Those are super bright, and you can have them flashing, you can have them whatever setting you want. And they came from Amazon. They come with a little bit of Velcro strap. I've got 2 of those, so I'll stick one on and I'll stick one as a backup. Again, these go in a sandwich bag, which is sealable, which is fantastic. And just a quick one, I'll also be taking these headphones. I don't know if you can see that, they're 100% charged. These are just cheap, unbranded ones. I tend to go through them quite quickly. They work extremely well, Bluetooth of course, and I only ever use one. Another little tip, I use one, they last about 7 or 8 hours each. So that's fantastic. So I'll put one in one ear so I can hear out the other one very well. And when one runs down, especially when I'm on a long ultra, I'll just swap it, put the other one in and put the other one back in the charging case, and that starts recharging. So you could be out for 12, 14 hours and not have to worry about listening to podcasts, audiobooks or music. So those are the little headphones I use. I know you can get much better quality ones. Those are the ones I tend to use because they're just easy and small. So that works really well. And then of course, the cables. I've got a little pack here that just came from a flight. It's a little zippable pack. And in there, I've got 2 sets of cables, a USB-C and another one to just use for the power banks if and when I need to recharge anything, whether it's the torches or the phone, etc., etc. So that's that. Now let's move on to a couple of extra bits that I'd like to talk about. We do need some tape as part of the mandatory kit check, so I've got tape there as well. You only need a certain length. I think it was 2 meters, so I'll cut maybe double that, 3 or 4 meters, probably 4, and then I'll sort of semi-cut to 2 meters again, because if somebody forgets theirs, you've got extra spare and you can give them the second 2 meters that you've got and still be compliant with your own kit check. So I'll take probably 4 meters, so I can give somebody the extra 2 if they need it. So that's the mandatory self-adhesive sticky stuff. So you'll see that on the list as well. And as I said earlier, a couple of things that I also take with me. So I will be taking, this is from Thailand. This is essentially just like a muscle rub to heat up your muscles. Very similar to the Thai balm, the red Thai balm, which I love to use. This stuff is one of my favorite products ever. You rub that on and all of a sudden your muscles warm up very, very quickly and you feel like you've done a bit of a workout. Now, if you rub it on nicely into your arms, your legs, your thighs, your shins, your calves, you're much less likely to get an injury as well, because one, we're circulating that blood really well and you're warming up the skin. So that works really well and I love that stuff. Vaseline, as I said, for all sorts of reasons. You can put it on your lips, you can put it on parts of your face, and I certainly put it on my feet, ready for when I put the socks on. Biofreeze has the opposite effect. Picked it up in the US as well. Biofreeze, if you've got an ache or a pain, it's almost like Thai balm, but the reverse. So essentially it cools down the area. So if you've got cramps and you're feeling hot, or you've got a hot spot, stick Biofreeze on it. I'll take that with me. I'm not sure I'm going to take it in my pack, but I'll take it with me just in case I've got something that I'm concerned about. You can get these in little sachets. I've got them in the cupboard, so I'll probably take 2 or 3 of the little sachets. They look like a little sugar sachet, so they weigh nothing and they take up no space at all. So that's the big one, and I'll take a couple of the small ones. But also little things like, these are just cable ties. Cable ties are always useful for everything, so I'll take a couple of cable ties. Rubber bands, there's a big bag there, but what I tend to do is put a load of extra rubber bands on the cable ties, because you never know when you could use a rubber band. So there's rubber bands, cable ties, and then of course gaffer tape. Now I take a bunch of gaffer tape. This is a particularly big one, but I have got a smaller roll which is silver color, and that's the gaffer tape I'll be taking as well. And I will be putting those in my pack, because again, you just never know when you need them. Now, as far as other bits and pieces are concerned, this is a microfiber towel, really small, and it really helps. So I'll take this again from Decathlon. It packs a powerful punch. It's amazing. It's incredibly small, but it really does dry your skin very quickly. It's like a big fluffy towel, but it's tiny and it weighs nothing. So this is well worth it. And then I'll take a sort of another sort of microfiber cloth, essentially. You'll see this in Halfords and places where you clean cars from. These are great for cleaning screens. So whether you want to clean your glasses, especially the ones if it's bad weather, or you want to clean the screen of the phone, these stay dry and absorb a lot of water. So if you keep one of these in the sandwich bag, you can use this for the whole Ultra. They work really well. And you know, when your hands are wet and you're trying to do stuff, just having the microfiber cloth and the other lint-free cloth really work well as far as just getting stuff dry and being able to use them. And then finally, I also take my eye mask so I can get a good night's sleep the night before. This is a lovely one. It's very, very cushioned, and it just definitely blocks all the light. And I take a little massage gun, which works well. So if nothing else, after you've finished the race, maybe you want to just give your muscles a little bit of a massage. But certainly the night before, I tend to use this as well, just to give my muscles a little bit of a shake to make sure they're awake for the next day. And then the morning of, I do the same thing as well. So just a few things. So we've been through everything now. There's a lot there, as you probably can see. And does it all pack in the hydration pack? Yes, it does. So I'll be repacking all of that, would you believe, in that little bag. It is likely that I'll be taking the little belt as well, but it's not as bad as it looks. I'll take a select few of the nutrition. Of course, the compulsory stuff like the compass, the first aid kit, and the emergency bivy bag, you have to take that. And then, of course, water, etc., etc. And then, of course, all the hydration, the electrolyte chews, the cliff blocks, and the other nutrition. And as I say, all of this stuff will fit in. I'm confident that I've got all the right stuff. I know there's been a lot of controversy over what to wear and how much of it to take. I think you just need to be sensible with this stuff. Now, a lot of my stuff comes from charity shops. It also comes from Decathlon and some unbranded stuff from Amazon. And I know I've run in a lot of this stuff before, and I say I've been all kinds of places in the Alps and Snowdonia and Scafell in bad weather. This stuff works. I'm not about to spend, £600-700 on a weatherproof jacket when I know, something from Harrier or from Regatta works just as well, and it's a fraction of the price. So I hope that's helped. I don't think I've missed anything. On the 100 miler, there may be a couple of extra bits that you need, but certainly for the 25 and the 50, that pretty much covers everything. There's a lot of stuff there. It's a case of just thinking sensibly about the situation that you'll be in. You'll be out in the middle of nowhere. It could be extremely cold, the wind blowing. You just need to make sure, one, you can communicate with people with a phone and a backup battery. Two, that you've got enough food and drink to see you through for the next 2 or 3 hours. And if all else fails, to make sure that you can stay warm, hence the bivy bag, and of course all the extra jackets and fleeces and long sleeve merino wool sort of underwear as well. So all of that stuff will keep you warm, and I think that's about it.